Thank you, madam. And also, thanks for inviting me for this particular presentation at your university, and also members of the head table, and also all the participants. Well, I have been asked to make a presentation on under this particular theme, and since I am a population scientist, I thought that it may be worth to select a particular topic where you may be not having much information and knowledge about this particular area. Therefore, I have selected a topic, something called Youth Bulge for Sustainable Development, an emerging challenge for the 21st century in Sri Lanka. And in fact, I am right now working under the UGC special branch called National Center for Advanced Studies as a senior research fellow from sabbatical leave from the University of Colombo. Therefore, let me make my presentation to you. Well, I have introduced the word youth bulge. What is the meaning of the youth bulge? The term youth bulge is used to describe a population in which the proportion of youth is significantly large in comparison to very young and old. That means, suppose in any particular population, the youth 15 to 29 group is significantly large, then we call there is a youth bulge. Although Sri Lankan population is aging, getting older, as with many other developing nations, still it is processes of youth bulge. Sri Lanka right now about say 23% of the population is falling into the category of 15 to 29 age group. Therefore, we still do have a youth bulge. Well, a youth bulge does not necessarily embark with challenges and difficulties. Rather, it can help in development process. Therefore, I want to introduce my idea over here. Most of the countries, once we have a very large segment of youth, most of the government tend to think that there is a difficult time. Therefore, most of the time the UN and many other agencies, World Bank, we call something now youth-led development. Youth should not be considered as a trouble, or should not consider as a some sort of liability, but consider youth-led development. Make sure that the youth participate in the development process. Thereby, any country can move into the more development agenda. Therefore, youth bulge could lead to favorable demographic dividend. Sometimes we call the demographic bonus also. What is meant by demographic dividend? Very quickly, more or less same idea. The demographic dividends in that period, dependency will be at minimum level. Highest proportion of population will be in the working ages. That means something like 15 to 59 years. The demographic dividend would have a positive impact on economic growth. Dividend alone not sufficient for economic takeoff. Suppose any particular country is having a youth bulge, or any particular country is having a demographic dividend. That means large segment of the population is falling into the category of working ages, 15 to 59 or 15 to 64. That country automatically could not have a development. In order to have a development, we need to have a political stability, savings and investment, what we call the productive savings and investment, and also then productivity in all the sectors, including higher education to all other services to production industry, and also very cleanly knowledge economy. Therefore, under the knowledge economy, business environment, information infrastructure, innovation systems, human resources are very important. Therefore, in any particular country is experiencing youth bulge or demographic dividend, if that country could provide the political stability, good savings and good investment, good productivity, knowledge-based economy, that country can take their economy into higher orbit. Well, in Sri Lankan case, Sri Lankan demographic dividend, demographic bonus or window of opportunity for development initiated somewhere in 1991, and that will last until up to 2030. Therefore, the remaining part of the demographic dividend, that best part of the population, the age structure is concerned, remain for another 15, 16 years maximum. In that period, if we can use the population in a more productive manner, the country's economy can be pushed into the higher orbit? Well, if you consider the countries where the demographic dividend has been used very successfully, like South Korea. The South Korea has the demographic dividend from 1980 to 1990, and also 2015 to 2050 India. Sri Lanka is of course now experiencing. Therefore, during this demographic dividend or youth bulge time, we have to make sure that youth engage in the development in a more productive manner. Therefore, in order to provide some information about the youth of Sri Lanka in our regional setup, Sri Lanka is somewhere there is something called Youth Development Index, which used the economics, literacy, mortality factors, composite variable is computed to identify the status of the youth. Therefore, that particular index we call Youth Development Index. 151 countries has been studied for this purpose by the UN. Under the few months back we had the International Youth Conference, and Sri Lanka being of course labeled as the 19th in the rank position, the last column. The Sri Lanka is the 19th, Australia is the number 1, Canada number 2, likewise. Of course the Malaysia is somewhat ahead of us, Singapore is much ahead of us. But there are many countries below us, India and so many countries in Africa and many countries in Asia also below us. Therefore, Sri Lankan youth is concerned in the international agenda. Sri Lankan youth are somewhat in a better position. Therefore, let me provide some few information about the Sri Lankan youth, their education, their computer literacy and many other areas quickly. The enrollment in the higher education or tertiary education, you can see that Australia, the enrollment in the tertiary education of the 15 to 24, the potential age group, 15 to 24, more than 95% of the females in Australia engage in some sort of tertiary education, including the TAFE type of education, technical vocation. Males are concerned only about 68. That is one of the highest in the world. Sri Lanka is concerned of the 15 to 24 age group, females. Again, this is another important point. In Sri Lanka also more and more females are entering into the tertiary education. In many faculties, the student population is concerned, bulk is the females. And I think chairperson knows this one very well, coming from the university system and so many other universities. But in Sri Lanka, of this 15 to 24 age group, only about females are concerned. Still only 20% engage in tertiary education. Males are much lower, something like a half of the females. But if you take Niger, Kenya, very small numbers. Net enrollment by sector, if you look at in Sri Lanka, the school participation, retention in the school level, the estate sector, student retention is very poor, very poor. Sri Lanka as a blue line, if you take, it's a simple example, 100 students enter into the grade 1, only 39 finally appear in the A-level examination. Therefore, let me put something in the more verbal terms. The number of students who qualify for GCE A-level during the period from 2009 to 2012 indicates a significant improvement from 48% to 62%. That means from O-level to A-level progression. Now it is about 62%. However, still 40% leave school education after O-level examination. And even after A-level examination, we recruit only about 22 to 25,000 to the state university system. Dropouts before and after GCE O-level is a crucial issue, as they do not obtain adequate and complete school education as a sound foundation for the future. The basis for any employment in the formal sector is the successful completion of the GCE O-level, and these students do not have basic lowest qualifications. Therefore, in the second bullet, I have clearly mentioned that 40% leave school education after O-level. That means they are not getting qualified for A-level. Now, what is happening after A-level?